Hello. Recently, I was asked if I could make a nightlight out of polymer clay. So, having tried several things and played with some of them, what I have finally done is I went out and purchased a few night lights. One of them looks like this. The other one is much smaller. And I will tell you up front, the frosted looks better because the light is emitted by a little LED in the bottom here, right down here. And the frosting causes it to diffuse and come out to the front. With this one, since it's just clear, again, there's a LED down here at the bottom that emits the light, but it does not diffuse, it's not scattered anywhere. It does show up when I cover it in clay, and I can show you that in a minute. But anyway, so what I've done is to make a little sheet. Since this is plastic, I didn't want to put it in the oven. So I made a little sheet that I can glue on here, and I will show you that at the end of the end. And it does a decent job. To give you an idea, let me turn off that light and bring up this light. Now there's a photo sensor here. If I cover it, you can see that the light does shine through quite nicely, reasonably well. I got the alcohol ink a little thick on this one. So that's a bit of a problem. However, with this one, I used a lot thinner pouring of alcohol ink, and you can see it's still there. You can see it, but as I was saying, that the light, since it's not diffused by the rough surface, you don't see a lot of the night light up here. But in a dark bathroom, it's not too bad. Having tried that. So, what did I do? To start off with, I've got a sheet of glass here that I'm going to be working on. And I'll explain the reason for that quite simply is when I do this, I need to make sure, well, actually, I've got a sheet of translucent clay here that I have run through the POS machine on number 3, on basically a medium setting. And I need to put it on a flat surface so I get a smooth back on it. But I want no air bubbles in the back. And when I tried that on the tile, I still had a few air trapped in a few places. So I have gone to putting it on a sheet of glass so then I can look at it from the other side and tell that it is not anywhere near down as well as it should be. So I can work that a little bit, try to work some of the air bubbles out as I can see them now through the glass. There's one right there. And kind of squeeze him out. Because the fewer air bubbles there are, or the sparser they are, the better the effect. I've got clay on the other side too. But anyway, by squeezing this thing, and you probably can't see them because they are hard to see it straight on, but I've got most of the air bubbles out. Now, I've tried this with alcohol inks. I was going to try it with liquid clay, but I didn't get the experiment done in time, so I'm not sure how well that worked. And as I said before, a thin layer of alcohol ink works better than thicker. So what I have been doing, and I have just messed up, when you do this and you're working with alcohol inks, you should be wearing some sort of rubber gloves. I don't have any handy quickly, so I'm going to turn my hands all kinds of colors for the next 3 weeks, because that's what happens when you play with alcohol inks and don't have anything on your hands. I'm going to put just very little alcohol ink on there. This one, I just grabbed some colors. This is Santa Fe red, and then I went for a ultramarine blue. As I said, I only want a few drops, so I'm going to just give it 2 drops of ultramarine blue. Wipe the tip off. And I've decided this time to put in whatever this is, lime green. And again, I don't want a lot of this. So I'm going to put, there we go, 1 drop there. Let me just quit there and see what it looks like. If it spreads out nicely, then we'll call it good. If it doesn't, I can always add a little more. It is really, really difficult to take stuff off. Now what you want to do is take the toothpick, which I've lost, and spread this around. And being alcoholic, it spreads easy enough. Make sure you get it out near the edge. And I've made sure that my clay is bigger than the light switch on night light I'm trying to cover. I did check that first when I rolled out the clay. And they're just trying to get things covered to some degree here on my glass sheet. This may actually be a short demo, but that's okay. It was fun. I like the results. As I keep spreading it out here, keep moving things around. I seem to have lost my green somehow. You have to add more green anyway. Just trying to make sure you get everything, get alcohol, ink everywhere. Add some more green to the center, I think. Let's see. There's my lime green. Trying really, really hard not to get it on my fingers. First time I did this, I had 3 fingers that were green for a week. Oh, good. About not getting it on your fingers. That's why you want to use rubber gloves. This is a lesson for everybody. Not that said, lime green. Let me keep spreading it out. And lay that aside. There's a couple of ways to spread this, and I can get a more uniform distribution with this stylus or this hooky tool. So I'm going to switch to that here as I try to finish things off. Seem to be a little heavy on the blue. So we'll spread it out, try to thin it out. I'm also going to take a deli sheet. It won't wipe off my hands, but I can use it and I put over this quickly. See if I can pick up some of the alcohol ink. And I can use it to close things up a little bit. Let me get my, I lost it. Well, let's see if I got more. There it is. Make sure I'm covered here. Yes. I've got alcohol ink everywhere that my cover will be. So that will work. So I've now made a really big mess here. So I can clean some of that before it gets too messy. And I'm going to have to come back with some alcohol and clean it up some more. Now, I've had a problem in the past working with alcohol inks, and over time, if they're exposed directly to sunlight, they tend to fade. At least some of them have on me. So what I have done to preserve the ink is to roll out another sheet of translucent clay. This guy is a number 4, so it's even thinner than the back, one stage thinner. And I want to get him down in a way that all of the air is removed. And so you see me working the air out towards the edges from the bottom to the top. And I should be able to clearly see the color underneath of this, because that number 4 is thin enough that you can see through it clearly. I've got some air bubbles here and there that I can pick up. And so I'm just going to come in. Since I can see them, I will squeeze, make a small slit, squeeze the air out, seal up my slit. Those guys are gone. I've got one more right here. Okay. That's got all of that taken care of. Now, at this point, I thought that's going to be kind of dull. It needs something to enhance it. And so I took this texture sheet, which is, I think it's called stone or something. Doesn't matter. Took a texture sheet that looks kind of like a stone wall, rough stone wall, and put it over the top of that. And I have come along with my brayer and run it over that texture sheet, pressing firmly down. Make sure I get a good impression absolutely everywhere. And they always tell you when you're doing a demo, you should always have tried everything first before you do the demo. And there's something I've always been wanting to try with this demo, and I may try that. Yeah, I'll probably do it. Oh, I'll wait on that. I'll explain what I was going to do in just a minute. Okay, I can look at this. I can see that all of the raised portions of the texture sheet are down pressing firmly into the clay. So I've got good texture. And then you do what you always do. You hold down one corner, one edge, and peel up the corner and make sure you've got good texture everywhere. It looks good. So I will take that off now. So that is my texture sheet. It's a little rough, so I'm going to clean up some of the edges right now, cutting off the excess translucent clay that I don't really need. I should be able to cut off most of this. Gotcha. There we go. Turn that up a little bit. Now, just to make sure, coming back to this guy, and you can see I still have clay poking out around the edges of my nightlight. So I'm going to hold everything firmly in place and come in with my clay blade and cut right along the edges of the nightlight and remove those pieces of clay. So you get a nice, make sure you never let go of the nightlight at this point, because it will slip and you will never be able to get the position back. So I am holding it very, very firmly. and my fingers are under the glass tile where I'm cutting. So I've got, and don't let that slip either. And I got one little piece right here. At this point, I can get it separated. Got it. I'm going to put this glass sheet on this tile and pop it into the oven to bake. And so that is now going into the what I refer to as the Carol Duvall oven. And when it comes out of the Carol Duvall oven, you find out that it has shrunk. Like, no, this is just a smaller sample. It's already been baked. But I wasn't happy with that. I didn't like the way it looked. It needed something more. Um, because if this is sticking out in your bathroom in the daytime, you know, I don't know, you might argue it's some impressionist or Jackson Pollock painting, but it needs something. So what I did was I pulled one of my leaf canes, and I've been taking small slices off my leaf cane, which I made, since this is a very small piece, I want a small leaf. So I'm going to reduce my leaf a little bit on the end of the cane here. And I can make him smaller than he already is. And take some very careful slices through this. As I'm slicing through this, I'm reminded that I worked with Lynn Ann Schwarzenberg once, and she is able to get 100 slices off of 1 inch of cane. How she does it, I have no idea. Me, if I get 20, I'm doing good. Actually, I'm probably going to do better than that on this one. I am gaining experience and becoming, I don't do a lot of caning, which is my big problem. I don't use a lot of cane slices in my work, so I don't have a lot of experience with that. Reshape these a little bit. I want the leaf, the edge of the leaf, be exposed. And to keep things from getting too boring, I'm going to alter the shape of some of the leaves as I put them down in different angles, different orientations. This guy looks like he's leaning one way, so I'm going to help him lean. We'll just give him a bit of a twist there. Squeeze the ends down. Put him around there. Press him down. Now, if I really wanted to, I could have put down a layer of liquid clay around the edge. But in this case, I don't think that's going to be necessary. I did on the first one I made. But these seem to be sticking quite well. So I'm going to call it good and press on. Watching me manipulate leaves and put them on a pre-baked piece of polymer clay is probably not the most fun thing in the world we've ever done. And if I was smart, I would stop the video and do this and then restart the video. Uh, okay, so once I've cut out sliced all of the leaves and put them around here, changing the shape and adjusting them somewhat, I've got this nice little border on there. Now these I've pressed down, made sure they're well attached. If I wanted to, I could have used a little liquid Sculpey on there to help glue it in. And I will pop this in the oven a second time and bake those pieces. Again, I don't want to put the light in the oven because it is plastic, and I'm afraid it's going to damage the plastic or cause it to melt. But when it comes out of the oven, it will look like this. And it will be nice and solid and firm. Uh, and you can see on the backside the air bubbles I was talking about due to the not being able to see through the translucent clay is make sure I had all the air bubbles out when it was on a tile. That's what these are. And so this one will be a lot better to avoid that. To get it onto the nightlight, what I'm going to do is again check the positioning. I can see through the back of the nightlight and make sure that I've got the clay positioned correctly on the light, and making sure that I'm going to come in and I've got Eileen's original tacky glue that works on plastic here. And I'm going to find my toothpick, which apparently I'm not going to find, but that's okay because there are always alternatives. That will work nicely. I have a toolkit filled with all sorts of things, including knitting needles. So I can use the knitting needle, pick up some glue on the knitting needle, and I'm just going to put this glue on the border. I could use super glue, but I actually prefer this most of the time. It is compatible with polymer clay, and it's supposed to work on plastic. So we'll get that down there. I'm only painting around the edge. I haven't actually tried this, so I don't know if it's the right thing to do or not. But it seems to me that all I really do need to do is hold the edge down, not the middle, because I'm also concerned that everything being translucent, the glue may poke through in the middle and give me a slightly different look, which I don't want. Now I'm going to take this light switch or night light, put it on there, press it down. This one is fairly flat. The other one is slightly curved. And if I'm using the smaller one, since it is slightly curved, what I did was I took it out of the oven while it was still warm and put it warm on the night light to get the curvature to come in. And that then gives me a night light. And once more to see what this looks like, I'll turn off my overhead light and take this guy and pop him out in there. Very well. He goes in. Where does he not go in? That's the way he goes in. Okay. I got him. And then when I cover that, I got a lot of room light, but you can see I do have a nice night light coming out of that. And although it's not an intense light, it should be enough to see into some dark room, see parts of a dark room, and get you looking around and seeing what's going on there. So that is today's demo. It actually came out a lot nicer than I thought. And I'm going to try and do the same thing using liquid Sculpey and see how clear that is when it's done. And I'll let you know. Hope you enjoyed this one. Now, I've tried the same thing using liquid Sculpey, the colored liquid Sculpey. I wasn't sure how it was going to look when I started, but I just got one finished. I had a small piece of translucent to play with. So I took some liquid, some of the colored liquid Sculpey, dabbled it on here, spread it around with a toothpick, Uh, tried to get it fairly thin. It's got some texture to it on its own, so I didn't really need to texture it. I could have, I suppose. And then when I baked it and put it on the light, you can see it comes in real nice. It shines through it. I like that look. So that may actually be a better way to do this than the alcohol inks. Although with the thinner alcohol ink, it actually does come out fairly nice too. So there are two ways to do that. Uh, when you're playing with alcohol inks, remember gloves are very good. A friend of mine has suggested that I could spread it with a paintbrush instead of with a toothpick. I don't have that much experience with uh, paintbrushes, but that might be a better way to spread it, spread the alcohol around. I used to, when I was working in paper and my wife was working in paper, we would put the alcohol ink on a sheet of paper and blow it with, or put it on some surface and blow it through a straw, with one of the thin straws. And we can move it around that way and get some nice effects going for us. Other people have suggested putting alcohol on the liquid clay, or on the translucent clay first, and then while the alcohol is still wet, put the alcohol ink on, and that they say that does help spread it around too. I haven't tried that one, so I can't say, but those are just some other suggestions I've had as to how to get the alcohol down. I'm going to be playing with the liquid clay and see if I can get some better results out of that. I like what I'm seeing. So, with that in mind, if I get any better answers, I will try and post it on YouTube.